and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tesla stock is about to explode, at least from the technicals, okay? Now, there could be some news coming. I talked about this in the previous video, but over the past 2 days, really, there has been some unusual option activity. Like hedge funds and institutions decisively got bullish on Tesla after Tesla's earnings. But you're starting to see some of those January and March 2026 expirations targeting the $700, $800 strikes. Even, just to be honest here, even the 400s to 500s are seeing a lot of activity, 600s as well. Based on today's development, I would not be surprised at all if we're about to get a breakout in Tesla stock, potentially a breakout in the broader markets as well. We'll talk about that in this video. There is some big news that will be coming out tomorrow that drove market sentiment partially today. We'll explain that in this video. Hit that like button as well as that subscribe to the channel. Check out that link down below in the description of this video if you would like to come trade with us. What we're doing over there is, let's be honest, AI is going to be with us for the next decade at least as the main investing theme. There is nothing else that is going to come out over at least the next 10 years that takes more precedence than AI. AI is going to go through waves and cycles. For an example, semiconductors have been the popular trade for AI up until really now. At some point, software will become the main trade. Another point, robotics will become the main trade. Robotaxis potentially become the main trade. Okay, there's going to be different subsector leadership components to this over the next decade. But what we're doing is going out and finding those small cap AI stocks that are in those subcategories that are not exactly semiconductors. Sure, we play semiconductors like Novartis Semiconductor, ticker symbol NVTS. I bought that in the $2 range. Today it's like $8, $9. Okay, that moment is past. Now, if you want the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x opportunity, the Apple ovens of 2022, the Carvanas of 2022, if you will, the overlooked and under-owned opportunities within AI, it's in what I believe the stocks that we are investing in. One stock in particular, I now have $77,000 of capital in. It's not my only position, by the way. That I think in the month of August is going to be a huge month for that stock. We'll obviously see. I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing is guaranteed. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions before you buy or sell anything listed in that group. But check it out. Over now 100 members strong. Link down below in the description of this video. But on to today's episode. So we're actually going to circle back to what happened today for Tesla. The end of the day rally today really sets this thing off. You did as well close above the 50-day moving average, and that's going to be part of the conversation. But first, I want to talk about the big catalyst coming tomorrow and my expectation. And honestly, we're probably going to get some news on this literally any moment. Okay, so the big news that's going to be happening tomorrow. Let me go ahead and mute the trading community first. Okay, so there is this article on CNBC that breaks it down. It says, it's titled at least, Why the Oil Market Believes Trump Will Back Down from Tariffs on Russian Crude Buyers. A lot of people are unfamiliar of this, but tomorrow is the deadline to have a ceasefire in Ukraine, or additional tariffs are going to be put on countries that are buying Russian oil. You can see that would include like China here. These red lines are the start of the Russian war in Ukraine. European Union, obviously, imports dramatically fell. Turkey, imports doubled or more. China, they went up a bit. But India, they really surged after the war in Ukraine. And what's going on, from my understanding, and what Trump's angry about, is India's buying oil from Russia at very low levels and then reselling it. Kind of like an arbitrage thing. Okay. But it says here, Trump has given Russia until Friday to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Moscow does not comply, the U.S. will impose 100% secondary tariffs on countries that buy Russian exports, the president has said. This would, in theory, force countries to choose between buying Russian oil or trading with the U.S. Interesting way of dealing with the situation. But as we talked about in the previous video, today, Trump and Russia basically agreed to have a meeting in the coming days. Wall Street was nervous today, rightfully so, because 100% tariff on China? Forget this market rally. It's over again. Okay. Obviously, if that were to go into effect and stay into effect. Hence the reason why we had the 20% crash. It was all about China. It always was about China. Okay. That would be very bad from an economic perspective. That would basically derail everything that Trump is fighting for, like a stronger economy, lower inflation. Okay. Like, you're risking a depression at that point. You're definitely taking a good percentage off the stock market and basically killing the odds of a longer-term strategic trade deal with China. It's everything that Trump doesn't want to happen. Okay. So India doesn't matter. Turkey doesn't matter. Other countries do not matter. It's all about China. Now, I don't think we need a ceasefire by Friday, but it does seem like the talks are moving in the right direction in ending the war in Ukraine. And I think that is sufficient enough to delay this. And I think that tomorrow will be a big positive catalyst. I do believe that's the reason why the Dow, the Russell sold off more today. At one point, it was looking pretty ugly there. Because, I mean, a lot of those companies would be hit. Right? The Dow, a lot of consumer staples, right? Which, yes, a staple is a staple, like milk. You may have to have milk, but if you're financially in a worse off position, you may be forced to buy less of it, right? A lot of Dow companies fit that kind of category. The Russell, risk off, good luck raising capital. Good luck, in a recessionary kind of environment. And although we didn't price in like a strong chance of 100% tariff on China tomorrow, we did price in some risk associated with that. And I do think here, any moment, Trump is going to say, hey, we have a meeting with Russia. They seem to be moving in the right direction. We're going to delay the secondary tariffs. And when that happens, at some point in the coming hours, that is when markets will have a very nice recovery, even Tesla stock included, okay? Auto companies by nature are very sensitive to the economy. If consumers are not doing well, they do not buy new cars, okay? So just that whole situation hurting the economy with tariffs on China indiscriminately hurts automakers more, okay? And then add to it, Tesla is in this quote unquote morphing stage, which I think is kind of a good way to put it. But a lot of people like Dan Ives and Jim Cramer have referred to it as such, where Tesla is transitioning from being more like a car company to more of an AI stock. So you have that high beta, higher risk involved with that, just from a perception perspective. Do I think that's actually realistic? Do I assign Tesla the same risk profile as a small cap? Absolutely not. But that's how the algorithms treat Tesla, okay? So from both of those perspectives, it would be really bad. Now, the fact that Tesla recovered the way it did from the low of the day looks incredible heading into tomorrow. And we'll circle back to the technicals in just a moment. But long story short, I don't think Trump is going to impose secondary tariffs coming tomorrow on countries in general. Now, if Trump imposes secondary tariffs on India or Turkey or whoever else, it's a non-event. It does not matter. That would actually be probably bullish just to avoid China, which, again, I don't think Trump is going to put those tariffs on China. I think Trump secretly wants the best stock market in the history of a presidency. Like, I think Trump wants that stat for the history books. Okay. And I don't think Trump wants to make, the same near mistake that he made the first time around with the egregious tariffs. Now, Trump on Truth Social this afternoon says, quote, "I have chosen Moran to serve in the just vacated seat on the Federal Reserve Board until June 31st, 2026. So, again, they're going to be voting for rate cuts. So that raises the odds of rate cuts. Although the Fed Rate Monitor tool is assigning about a 90% chance of a September 17th rate cut, still something that could move markets. October pricing in about a 58% chance of an additional rate cut. So in September and in October. December is the one we want to watch most closely because that's where the odds are going to move. Between, are we going to get 2 rate cuts? Are we going to get 3 rate cuts this year? The odds currently favor 3 rate cuts at 45.2%. The odds of 2 rate cuts at 42.8%. So they're pretty close here. And each economic data set is really going to move October and December. September is pretty much in the bag unless something crazy were to happen. Now, also boosting the markets here in after hours, the White House says Trump will make an announcement on the economy. And this is especially moving small cap companies that sold off, the most today. The Dow and small caps sold off the most today, so they're recovering the most on what could be good news coming tomorrow or an alleviation of uncertainty, which is, another way of putting good news. And as someone put it under this post that the White House and Trump will make an announcement on the economy, someone says here, Trump is really trying his best to squeeze every short in this market. And I think that's pretty accurate, okay? I think Trump not necessarily is thinking about squeezing shorts, but I do think Trump wants the stock market to go up as much as possible. And just kind of add that to your longer term, midterm thesis for the next at least 4 years. I don't think you're going to make money fighting that. Like, is there going to be periods where Trump tests the markets and tests out theories, right? Where, like, for an example, Trump said that he potentially was going to fire Powell. Like, he was testing the water to see how the markets would respond to that. If the markets would have ripped on that, Powell would not be here right now. Okay? Call this like taco, call this, the Trump put, whatever. That is going to be a powerful force going ahead that drives policy. And here you can see Trump says he will make a major announcement on the U.S. economy and called reporters to the White House. Trump on Russia says Putin doesn't have to agree to meet with Zelensky to meet with me. Trump on an India tariff says no talks until we get things resolved. And Trump on Russia-Ukraine ceasefire says it is up to Putin. Now, Elon Musk says that Grok 5 will be released by the end of 2025, and it will be crushingly good. And in final option activity today, the bullish flows were flowing. You had 118 different trades from hedge funds and institutions, totaling almost $251 million with a positive order value of 93%. That is wild, okay? Wall Street has decisively flipped, and they are bullish on Tesla. Bullish as hell on Tesla. You also had 630,000 shares today that were covered by hedge funds and institutions. Now, again, the only thing that really matters for tomorrow is going to be the extension on the really ending the war in Ukraine, right? That's going to be the big catalyst. Not getting those secondary tariffs on countries, but really on China. And I think that is partially why markets sold off today. The other part of today was Fed Bostic. He's been in team let's wait and see, right? The economy's doing fine and great. And today's like, well, the economy might not be doing as great as we thought. The labor market may be weakening more than we expect. Doesn't matter. I think, you know, markets actually like pricing in some risk around these things is actually a good thing, right? It gives us a wall of worry to climb and conquer, in which I think we will do tomorrow. Now, Tesla stock specifically from a technical perspective looks really good, okay? You flushed today, you hit the lows, then you recovered and closed at the high of the day. You closed above your 50-day moving average. The next big level is $323.61. If you can get above that 200-day moving average, then you potentially extend into the 330s and break out from there. If you can break above this downtrending trend line, I think the algorithms are going to have a frenzy. Okay. And judging off of what Wall Street is doing, buying all of this bullish exposure in Tesla, we've seen this before, and I've made plenty of videos like this before, where we get this unusual activity and then some news comes out. You know, it's not a coincidence when you see Wall Street this bullish on Tesla. 9 times out of 10, it means something bigger is coming. And that's exactly what it looks like to me. Again, from the technical perspective, things look pretty good with that close above the 50-day moving average. And honestly, there's a lot to be bullish on right now. From a sentiment perspective, retail is bearish. They've left the stock, some of them. I think they will be back, okay, once we get that big breakout. And for 2026, I think there's a lot of positive forces in play, whether it's the stimulative aspects of the big, beautiful bill, the fact that I don't think we're going to have an inflation problem. I don't think the economy is going to weaken into a recession. Geopolitical conflicts should be over. Trade deals, for the most part, should be done and finalized by the end of this year. And there is this big focus on AI with upside to earnings expectations. Mix all of that together. Oh, by the way, rate cuts. Mix all of that together, and you could be looking at a pretty euphoric market coming. Again, in the short term, it looks like something is brewing for Tesla based on the price action today and based on the flows that we go over here on this channel. But I think the real, breakout rally happens in the last 2.5 months of this year. That's where Tesla could extend into the 400s. Just my view, just my take. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Check out that link down below in the description of this video for the trading community as well. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.